reclaiming my time. Give me my time back. I'm reclaiming my time. I just want a simple yes or no. Do you support an exemption to tariffs on items that parents need to care for their kids? Because you all claim you're pro-family. I cannot hear the words you say because I see the things that you do every day. So clear it up. Yes or no? Do you support an exemption to tariffs on items that parents need to care for their babies?
It is under consideration.
Great. Good. I don't know what's stopping an exemption from going into effect today, so do it now. Mr. Secretary, do you know what a car seat is?
I have 2 children, yes.
I figured as much. It's correct. You and your husband have 2 children. So I'm sure you know that car seats are absolutely essential for families when traveling with babies and toddlers to school, to worship, to doctor's appointments, just everyday living. But not only are car seats essential, they are the law of the land. It's the law of the land in 50 states. So there's no getting around that. But now that cost is going up because Trump has announced up to 145% tariffs on Chinese imported products. Approximately 9 out of every 10 car seats in the US come from China. That's a steep cost. Steep cost hike for families all over the country. The price is up in Republican districts and in Democratic districts. And it's not just the car seats that are impacted. We're talking about strollers, cribs, high chairs. There needs to be an exemption to help America's families. Trump has used his power for tariff exemptions on thermoplastics, semiconductors, but what about baby products? In Donald Trump's America's price is not yesterday's price, is not today's price. Costs are going up. Everyone is suffering, especially our families with young children. Mr. Secretary, I'm making an appeal to you on behalf of the people of this country. Please tell occupant Trump to reverse course and stop hurting America's families. I am reclaiming my time. Give me my time back. I'm reclaiming my time.
She meant business. Good morning and welcome to Let It Be Known. I am your host, Stacey Brown.
Peace and love, Let It Be Known family. I'm your co-host, Niel, and we are going to jump into some topics that uplift and, of course, impact the Black experience. And I mean, the ladies were on the Hill yesterday advocating for the work that needs to be done for this country. And there we saw Ayanna Pressley getting the goods and the information about these tariffs that are about to impact the American people.
Yeah, it's always the ladies. The ladies, Black ladies, let's be specific. Black women have taken the lead always, and certainly in this moment, to try and right the wrongs of this failing country. Have tried to take things and put it on their shoulders. And where would we be without them? And even with that said, Niel, I appreciate you. I apologize for yesterday's blow up. I think it was important
Was there a blow up yesterday?
Well, I think it's important, seriously, to publicly apologize because it happened publicly. And I lost my cool over something that we probably should not have even I shouldn't allow to get that far. So I enjoy having you as the co-host of Let It Be Known. And I think that it's a great partnership. And I don't want anyone to think that Black folks can't work it out, because brother's going to work it out. Sister's going to work it out. So,
but I mean, I definitely want to talk a little bit more about what happened on the Hill yesterday. You saw Ayanna Pressley there. You brought up Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett was in another committee hearing, and she played a little game of trans or Trump. And she asked the person that she was that was testifying, was this a trans issue, or were these problems brought on by trans people, or were they brought on by Trump? And she listed a list of things that are happening in this country that are disenfranchising Americans, whether you white, Black, red, yellow, or brown. And none of them were the trans people's fault. They was all Trump's fault. So I just feel like when we talk about there's nothing happening on the Hill, there's stuff happening every day. We just don't get to see it. And those people are on the Hill, Democrats in particular, even if it doesn't happen, it's on record. It's on record that they're doing the work.
It is. And the thing about it, tariffs, so make no mistake, tariffs could be a good thing. However, to bludgeon folks over the head like this president, this administration is doing is just horrible. What you do, what presidents do, is sit down, normal presidents, sit at the table and discuss with other foreign leaders, hey, how can we even the playing field? Um, and tariffs is not always the answer. And in some cases, they are, but not when you just willy-nilly just hitting somebody 100% tariffs, 150% tariffs, just without Congress, without talking to Congress, without having input from the Senate, without having input from any financial experts. This guy, this is why he's had at least from reportedly at least 10, 11 bankruptcies in his business. He is a horrible businessman.
For sure, for sure. And it just all goes back to that's why I applauded with Ayanna Presley. That video is garnering a lot of attention because she so eloquently broke down the impact that just basic things like baby products, car seats, cribs, things, necessities that American people need, and how the prices are going to be extremely high and not affordable for the average working American citizen. And Trump may be this, he may be that, but at the end of the day, it's about the impact. And the
Mhm.
impact is going to be horrible for the average American person. And so when we have lawmakers like this, like the Ayanna Presleys, like the Cory Bookers, the Hakeem Jeffries, and we might not see what they're doing, but government is still working every day. Meetings are being had, questions are being asked. And as we saw with Ayanna Presley, she's asking all the right questions and she's making all the right demands. And when we see that, it still puts the spotlight back on the Trump clan administration because they're the ones that's inflicting all of this pain that the American people are about to feel.
Without question. Without question. We do have a black trivia question today, a black history trivia question. What might that be?
Drum roll.
I guess here we go.
There we go.
Oh, Black Pop. Which barrier breaking journalist became the first black person to anchor a major morning show on a U.S. network, changing breakfast television forever?
Hmm.
Major morning show. So it doesn't have to be a news program. I'm going to say Brian Gumble.
That's a good one. I'll ride with that one for now. Unless somebody
All
else
right.
in the chat puts something that seems a little more or is a better option right now, I'm going with that one, Stacey.
All right. Well, let's see, folks. Let's see what your answers are. I say Brian Gumble because she didn't say news program. She said a show. So that could be the Today Show, Good Morning America, something like that. So we
Mhm.
will see. We will see. It's always a twist. So we'll see. MB says, I know that guy. Well, who is it, MB? One quick note. Nia Long tweeted out this morning after the Knicks orangey, after the Knicks came back for a second straight game in the second round of the NBA playoffs to defeat the Boston Celtics. They came back from 20 down in each game. Nia Long tweeted, "Let's go Knicks." Now, why do I bring that up? Why do you think I bring up the fact that Nia Long is tweeting, "Let's go Knicks"? They're playing Boston.
Mm.
I'll let that marinate. As Mike V guest is Tony Brown. Oh, I like that. Remember the Tony Brown Journal? Tony Brown's Journal?
Mhm.
That could
Okay.
be it. MB says he thinks it's Bryant Gumbel as well. But wow. Laugh now and cry later, Knicks fans. But anyway, Nia Long, y'all know the story. Her ex-fiance was the coach of the Celtics, and he and the secretary there with the Boston Celtics, who still works for the Boston Celtics, they covered up his long affair with her, and of course, Nia had to find out in an awful way. There's no good way of finding out, but to find out in such a public way was it was horrible.
So who else is in the NBA playoffs besides the Knicks and the Boston Celtics?
So in the Eastern Conference, the Indiana Pacers and playing
Okay.
the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they're up. Indiana is going home like the Knicks are, up 2-0, shocking the
Okay.
Cavaliers. And in the Western Conference, you have the Golden State Warriors. They are, the last I checked, they were up 1-0, but they lost Stephon Curry for at least
Mm-hmm.
a week, maybe longer. So that
Mm-hmm.
series could be in jeopardy. And then you have
Okay.
the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Denver Nuggets. And the last time I
Mm.
checked, that was a series that was at 1-1. By the way,
Okay.
Minnesota is the team playing Golden State. So
And
but
that's
that's
Anthony
the Final
Edwards,
Four.
right? That's
That is
Anthony
Anthony
Edwards.
Edwards.
Ooh, I like him.
Yeah, that is Anthony Edwards, a young superstar. So
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
we
The
are.
way. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the way he did that victory lap around the crypto arena, I was like, okay, I'm rooting for him because he has a lot of courage. The way
Oh man,
I loved
I,
it.
I think there are some places that you might be able to pull that off. I don't know, certain, like for instance, last night, um, the security was trying to fight Knick fans in
Mm.
Boston. So
Oh wow.
some places. I mean, LA got a lot going on. There's my girl Monica McNutt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but LA has so much going on, like New York. I think that's why you don't see some of the things you see in other arenas
Mm-hmm.
in LA and New York. The Lakers are like this storied franchise. They got so much going on. Boston is a storied franchise too,
For sure.
but you see craziness. But I think you could pull that off in certain places because the Laker fans are not, for the most part, Laker fans are not, they're not going to try and hit you over the head with a bat or something
Are
like
you
Philly
crazy? The Lakers
fans.
tear this city up
They
sometimes. You
do.
know, they're scared. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm here in LA and they're a little scary. That's why I applauded him because he kicked the Lakers out. And so I was like, okay. But we also like somebody that has swag and courage. You know, this is the city of Nipsey Hussle. And so we like somebody who can stand on their 10 toes down. And that's what he was doing. He was standing 10 toes down. You got to respect it.
Okay, so Michelle Madison, she says either Oprah Winfrey or Lester Holt. And Michelle then
Oh.
comes back and says Max Robinson. Max Robinson, what a great, great, great journalist Max Robinson was. He died way back in, I think it was in the late 80s, early 90s. Max Robinson died too soon. He
Mhm.
had contracted a illness after getting, I believe he had a blood transfusion and
Mhm.
got an illness and died from that transfusion. And so, but he was an amazing journalist.
Hmm.
So, as we move on, 3 former Memphis police officers have been acquitted. Yep, acquitted in the brutal 2023 beating death of Tyree Nichols. You remember Tyree, the 29-year-old black man who was stopped on his way home from work. A jury found them not guilty of second-degree murder. This was their second trial because last year they were indeed convicted in federal court of witness tampering, and one officer was found guilty of violating Tyree's civil rights. Sentencing in that case is still to come. But no murder charges for these guys, no manslaughter convictions, I should say, no murder convictions, no manslaughter convictions, and witness tampering, stuff like that. I mean, they may not even do any jail time.
Yeah, I think this is why the Rodney Hinton story is amplified even more. When the news broke of this yesterday, everybody compared, and a lot of, like I was saying yesterday, black men were saying I will double down and said, I understand why Rodney Hinton did what he did. Two wrongs don't make a right, as I say, but when you see this type of news drop yesterday, you can understand, you know. And then yesterday, his family, the Hinton family, held a press conference about Ryan Hinton, and his cousin was crying, talking about how he called him 9 times and that shouldn't have happened to him. And so I think, sometimes God has a funny way of just, making stuff plain. And the fact that this Rodney Hinton story was growing and then this news dropped yesterday, I think it really amplified the need for police reform. Are we going to get it under a Trump Klan administration? Probably not. But it doesn't mean that we can't continue to lobby, to talk about it, and to be mad about it.
Yeah, again, the Hinton thing, I just wish that he had a little bit more self-control on that, but I'm not in his shoes. So I can't totally speak to it. I just think that he didn't think, he might not have been able to, but he certainly didn't think of the consequences for his family. He probably didn't care about the consequences for himself, but we have to think beyond the moment. And I think he, to attack another officer, like, to kill another officer, I just don't like that. But of course, more importantly, to your point, though, look what keeps happening to our people who look like us when it comes to law enforcement. So maybe in its own way, Niel, maybe this, because we keep looking for that wake up call, because we know we're not going to get rid of qualified immunity anytime soon. So we keep looking for that one wake up call for these officers. We keep thinking, when the cameras are on them, that hasn't helped. So maybe other officers will think twice. Listen, let me chill out, because I could be the next one that somebody runs down with a car or comes up behind me and blows me away or something. Maybe this could be a catalyst. I don't know.
Yeah, and just, shout out to all of the advocates and organizations that continue to lobby in their local communities, in their local states, on police budget reform, on state laws that can curb and trim so much power that police departments have in states and local communities. And so it doesn't just have to be a federal thing. We've learned that the Justice for George Floyd bill, that's going to sit on somebody's desk, on lawmakers' desk for a long time. But states have power, and cities have power, and people, most importantly, have power. And so shout out to, like I said, all those organizations that continue to push this conversation forward. And I just think that situations like this, where you have Tyree Nichols, killers, acquitted, but then you have somebody that's taken justice in their own hands. Just real quick, there was Toussaint out of Minneapolis that was a huge advocate during the protest for George Floyd, which his anniversary death is coming up. He brought up a good point yesterday when he said he played the press conference from the police department in Ohio, and the police chief said, we did this. And so she didn't identify the officer that actually did the shooting. She took the accountability as it was the police force that did it. And so he made the parallel, was like, well, if the police is rocking together, then the person that got ran over by Mr. Hinton, he was part of the we. And so I just think that it's not saying that that's right, but it's just pointing out how we have to change the conversations and hold individual police officers accountable for their actions, not protect them like she did. Don't protect them. Call him out. The whole police department didn't shoot that young man. It was one person that did it. Call that person out, and don't have everybody else, because look what happened. Somebody ended up dead. Now we have 3 lives. 3 lives. The police officer, the son, and the father gone, and family shattered. And so police reform needs to happen, and we just need to keep talking about it. Sorry.
Well, yeah. And what you just said is pretty much what I was trying to say too. Like, maybe maybe this will be a catalyst. Maybe we'll see. We will see, because we keep thinking we got catalyst, and then it goes, it just dies out on us.
Right.
And RNG's point about Sarah Lynn C.J. Davis and her leading the infamous Red Dog unit while serving in Atlanta. She led the Scorpion in Memphis, the same problems, different cities. And yeah, she does bear some responsibility here. a lot of responsibility too, because as he pointed out earlier, and we know her history of allowing police officers to use brute force and unnecessary force. She has to be stopped. She definitely has to be stopped. Faced with a wave of Trump administration rollbacks targeting civil rights programs and public safety grants, House Democrats are demanding the Justice Department stop any attempt to dismantle the Community Relations Service at the DOJ. It's a small but historically vital office, often referred to as America's peacemaker. It was created under Title 10 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and it was designed to help resolve racial and ethnic tensions and restore peace in communities that were facing conflict. And so these Democrats on the Hill are trying to stop Trump and his DOJ from dismantling that department.
Add another one to the list.
Yeah,
they just keep coming.
And this was an office that was created at the urging of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so it's very historical. And when they passed the Civil Rights Act, they did, at his urging, created this office. And it makes a lot of sense in this country to have an office like that. It's not to prosecute, it's to keep peace. When problems erupt in communities, is to send this team out to be peacemakers. So, but Trump doesn't want that type of peace, does he? Defense attorney Mark Geragos was admonished by the judge in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial for referring to prosecutors as a six-pack of white women. And let's face it, that's what they are. It's a white woman team only that is prosecuting Diddy. There's a lot of it's a bad look from the government, but it is now. Listen, this is now Trump's government. So Geragos is not on, at least not officially on Diddy's defense team, but he's working with the jury. He's working with his jury consultant, I should say. And he made the comment recently on a podcast, and the judge called him into chambers and admonished him for that and told him he needs to tread carefully there.
Yeah, they're just throwing all types of names out, which I think is unfair. Like Michael B. Jordan. I mean, just like any name they can. Like, why are you bringing all these black men into this conversation? But nevertheless, jury selection is still underway. They're saying that the trial could start as soon as Monday, May 12th. And so we'll just have to see. I think as the days go by, people will become more engaged in this. And I think when Cassie hits the stand, it's just going to be, top story of the day. Not unless Donald Trump tries to take the thunder.
Well, I did notice too that the jury selection in this case has moved along pretty well, faster than what they expected to move along. And also that prosecutors are having a whole lot of trouble getting one of their so-called star witnesses to come to New York to testify. And there was a lot of things yesterday about that going on. Excuse me. And the defense has asked the judge, and rightfully so, and it's going to be interesting to see how he rules on this, to not allow them to use so-called victim number 3 in their opening statement. So we'll see how he rules on that, because there's no guarantee that she's going to be there. They can't seem to.
If she doesn't show up, if she doesn't show up, then why are we using her in the case? You got to be present, hon.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I've been finding? Some of the juror selection stories coming out of the courtroom have been hilarious. One in particular is a guy, I don't know if it's a male or female. They were like, they couldn't do the case because they smoke weed every day, and it would impact their Their
There you
learning
go.
capacity, their coherent capacity, if they couldn't smoke their weed every day, so they couldn't do it. I was
I
like,
would be very,
ooh,
yeah, please,
that was so
goodness.
funny
Well,
to me.
but you know, you walk down the street, as soon as you, so I take Amtrak into New York a lot. And
Mhm.
soon as you get off the Amtrak, you smell weed all throughout.
Mm.
And there's a weed store on every block from Madison Square Garden through Times Square up to Radio City Music Hall. There's a weed store and you smell different forms of weed.
Mm.
I just didn't realize that there were different, so many. You talked the other day about a strand that Carmelo Anthony is. It's got to be when I was a kid growing up and guys on you could pass the corner and these guys are smoking weed. There was always this one smell. Now it's like
Yeah,
a million
yeah,
different smells.
yeah. When I was young, there was chocolate Thai, and there was endo, and then there was stress, but now they have it broken down to sativa, indica, and then you have hybrid, which is a mixture of sativa and indica. And then you have all of these strands, like you were just talking about, that celebrities are dabbling in. Snoop has his strand. And so, yeah, it's an industry. And people are starting their own cultivation centers and starting their own strands. So yeah, it's a big business, which unfortunately, black people can't make as much money as white folks, which is a big conversation that we should really talk about. The business of marijuana and the lack of equity for people of color, particularly black folks, about how they can't get their licensing, how they can't, they get their dispensary, they can't get a dispensary, but all of these white folks can get them. And the big picture is that a lot of people are incarcerated, black folks, because of marijuana, a business that we built, and now we can't get the equity out of it.
David Youngblood says, I don't want to comment on my knowledge of the weed.
Why not? It's legal. Tell us it's
I
legal.
know.
And
David,
most
come on, David. Spill the beans, David. Spill it.
No, there ain't nobody calling the weed man no more. You just go to the dispensary. Don't have to
Gri-
wait 5 and 10 hours for them to pull up. You just go to the dispensary yourself.
Greer says, what did she say? She says it's expensive. It's costly.
Yeah,
So
it's very costly, and that's the thing. And even like having people like the lottery system in some of these states that it takes to get these licensings, and how, like, white folks is just eating up the business of marijuana. And to me, people of color should have been the first to have access to this, because it's really a business that we built, and then most of the men are incarcerated because of it.
yeah, yeah. Dr. Joni too says Biden let a good number of people out of prison or cleared records for prior marijuana convictions. Mike V says Boston has the social equity initiative for cannabis by giving black folks preferential opportunities for opening cannabis businesses if they were impacted by the drug laws.
I
Wow.
love that. I love that. That should be a motto. That should be a national
Hmm.
motto.
Hmm. Absolutely. Um, and but Greer says, and so that's interesting that Mike V. Bruce brings that up about Boston, because Greer says it's set up to be a challenge for black folks for real.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
really interesting. This whole weed thing, I've never ever tried it, and don't have any intentions on trying it. But you know what? Like I said, you walk down the street in Manhattan, you might as well take a puff, because you're getting it. You taking it in, that's for sure. Oh
Well, I
gosh.
mean, yeah. So, and it's medical marijuana too, and a lot of people use it for their ailments. Cancer patients use it. A lot of people use it, so it's recreational and it's medical, which brings us to our next conversation. Let's talk about health and wellness, and celebrate nurses. This is National Nurses Week. It runs from May 6th to May 12th. And during this time, a lot of, I know SCIU International President April Verrid, she had a beautiful message for the nurses. She represents a huge number of nurses in her union, SCIU. And during this month, a lot of restaurants are offering deals. So if you're a nurse, You can get discounts and freebies. All you have to do is show your nurses' IDs. And a lot of people or companies that are offering this is Chipotle, Buffalo Wild Wings, some Chick-fil-A's, and Applebee locations owned and operated by the Flynn Group. And so we appreciate you, nurses. We love on you. We appreciate you, especially during COVID-19. I mean, during COVID-19, the nurses and the medical industry was just, underworked, underpaid, but had such a love for their patients that they helped get us through that. And so now we just celebrate you. We wanted to give you that shout out. And continuing in our health and wellness conversation, our next guest is a leading voice in Georgia's reproductive justice movement. Now, we're going to welcome in and bring in Georgia Campaign's Director for All Reproductive Freedom for All. I'm sorry, I lost the name. Help me out, Stacy. Alicia Stallworth. Alicia Stallworth, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's totally fine. It's okay. We're doing all of the things early this morning. Okay, so give yourself grace, please.
I appreciate that. But welcome to the show. I mean, like we said, we just came out of talking about nurses. We're talking about healthcare. And Georgia has a healthcare crisis, what I'm understanding. So talk to us about the crisis and what does Georgia's healthcare crisis look like for everyday people, Black folks in particular?
That part. Everyday people, for real, right? Mm-hmm. So the thing about Georgia is that most people don't know that we rank one of the worst in the nation for healthcare. Mm-hmm. And it's wild because our governor, he loves to tout that we're number one for business, but how are we number one for business, but we consistently rank among the worst in states for healthcare in the nation. When we're talking about Black maternal health, we're last, if not next to last, in terms of Black women dying 3 to 4 more times than our white counterparts. Mm-hmm. And then honestly, I want to say that's about 40% of Georgia that's within maternity care deserts. So when we say maternity care deserts, we're saying that it takes someone maybe an hour, sometimes even 2 hours to get health care. If it's anything related to gynecology, birth, anything within that sphere, it could take them a while to be able to actually get care. And that results in, honestly, people dying.
Wow. And I know there's a case that a lot of folks have heard of, a lot of talk about Amber Thurman. Mm-hmm. And her death, which struck a nerve across Georgia, and not just across Georgia, but throughout the states. How has her story galvanized this moment for advocates like yourself?
It is really wild because I was actually on medical leave when the story came out, but we've always said that people were going to die as a result of these abortion bans. Like, that was going to happen. And a lot of people are hearing the story, but a lot of people don't know how the story got out. The story got out because someone on the committee leaked it. So if they had not leaked that story, Amber Thurman's mother, Shanette Williams, would have never known. And it's wild because we had to sit down with Shanette Williams, and we were talking about like her story and what happened. And a lot of people don't know that she works in the healthcare industry. Yeah. B, when she was there, she was telling us a story about how she saw one of the medications they were giving her on the IV, and she was like, wait, why y'all giving her that? Like it wasn't adding up to her in terms of like what her daughter was there for and a result of like what eventually happened. Mm-hmm. And hearing her story and knowing that these are things that are happening to people every single day. And it's very unfortunate that we live in a place where people just can't access healthcare, that the doctors waited until they felt as though this was now the time that I can help her legally. And eventually it cost someone their life. It decimated families. It made her son lose his mother. You know, like it's very much a ripple effect. It's not just like, oh, someone passed away. No, this person had a life and they had people that loved and cared for them, and this could have been prevented.
Yeah, they say when white folks catch a cold, black folks catch pneumonia.
I've heard that too. You know, I'm in the South. Yes,
Yeah,
definitely heard that too.
So talk a little bit more about why Black women are at the center of this fight, and how are you organizing? Because there might be somebody in another state or city that can take some notes from you and, you know, amplify it in their city and state.
Yeah, I mean, I think you already know. Like, if it's not us, then who, right? I
Mhm.
mean, it's us. It's our bodies that are on the line. It's our families that are at the honestly that are honestly on the stake, you know? So it's like, if we're not at the table, then who else is making decisions about us? And it's at this point where it's like we have to step up. Like, we know that Black people have always been the architects of the movement, and Black women, especially when it came to the civil rights movement. And we are the builders, we are the protectors, you know. And it's like, once again, we are reclaiming our power. We are stepping up and we are saying, hey, like, we're not going to take this. Like, it's important that we organize, we're mobilizing, and we're testifying and leading coalitions. Like, we have Sister Song, which is the reproductive justice movement founder. They are based here in Atlanta, and Monica Simpson is amazing leading that work. I want to say, and then there's about 5 other reproductive justice organizations, primarily led by Black women and women of color. And then we have ARC Southeast, which is our only abortion fund for Georgia, but they also serve 4 other states. So again, like, we do what we need to do to take care of our people, to also hold those other people accountable for the mess that they're doing in terms of trying to control our lives, but also our healthcare, most importantly. And the way we do that is find a community. Like, you have to find your community and continue to speak up about those issues. We're Black, right? Like, let's name it. I don't care just about healthcare, but you know what I do care about? I care also about the economy. I care about the job market. I care about the schools, and if my nieces and nephews are actually able to read this book that I got them. If they take it to school, is the school going to take it out of their hand? You know, I care about what they're teaching them. So we understand that we are multifaceted individuals, and it's important that when we approach this work, we're intersectional about it. And sorry, I can keep talking, but yes.
That's okay. You have called out crisis pregnancy centers.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about the harm they actually cause and why are they still funded?
Why they still funded is the real question. I think, honestly, part of it is because most Republicans that we talk to, they don't even know that this is a budget item. They've gotten over $20 million. And when we are talking to Republicans who are in rural Georgia, especially, because most of them actually come from rural area, and that's where even some of their regular healthcare clinics are not even open. So we're like telling them, hey, instead of y'all spending $2 million for this crisis pregnancy center that's not actually giving out any healthcare, they're not giving any guidelines, they can do whatever they want to do with this money. So it's like, you could at least have a community health clinic in an actual area that needs health care. Right. And so they've just been able to operate under the guise of being a crisis pregnancy center, but they don't do anything. We call them anti-abortion clinics here on the ground because that's what they are. They try to tell people, mislead people regarding getting abortion care. Sometimes they say they give ultrasounds by people who are not registered ultrasound technicians. And there's so many stories about this. And when they have done this, they delay care for people who may be almost at that weak band. So this is a coordinated attack to, again, delay people making the decisions that they want to make. I even heard a story about 2 months ago. We had a press conference about reproductive freedom, and a young lady shared that she was told that that the embryo and the baby at that time had progressed, the baby was actually viable, and that it was fine, everything was going good. And she was saying she went there because she felt sick and she felt like something was wrong. She said like the next day or so, like she could barely move, and she went to the someone took her to another hospital because she was in a desert, a maternal health desert. And so someone took her further out, and it turned out she had became septic. She could have lost her life.
Goodness.
And this is the world that I operate in every single day. And these are the stories that I'm hearing from real everyday people.
This week, Jasmine Crockett was on the Hill, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. She was having a conversation about the trans community, and the Trump administration, and you brought up the term intersectionality. And so I want you to talk a little bit about how the attacks on the trans healthcare and reproductive rights, how are they connected, and what's the broader playbook on this conversation?
I mean, the short answer is the broader playbook, I think, is they're focused on control. We have these extremist lawmakers who are focused on control, not actually care. Because all of these are policy decisions, right? They are policy decisions that are made by extremist lawmakers. In terms of the intersectionality regarding trans healthcare, we like to say, like, once they come after one of us, they're coming after all of us. This is just a chip in the stone that they're trying to break, that they're trying to pull down the wall of. We know that our work is intersectional because we like to say that, of course, we know that gender affirming care is a part of reproductive freedom. Reproductive freedom is deciding what you want to do with your life, free from political interference. So anytime we have policies that are coming into play in regards to people making decisions about their bodies, their livelihoods, or their families, that's affecting reproductive freedom. And then for us, once again, that's like how I like to just say it in an everyday way, because that's truly what it is. And that's why it's so important that we continue to be in community with our trans brothers and sisters in their fight, especially here in Georgia. Specifically, about a few years ago, there was an intense attack on the trans community where people were being unfortunately unalive a lot. And so that was a big story in like 2020 through 2022. So we take this issue very seriously in terms of making sure that our trans allies know that they have a safe place with us, and that we are fighting for them as well, because they are part of the reproductive freedom movement ultimately.
I want to go back to fertility care, including IVF. That it's often out of reach. Real access look like in Georgia?
Yeah, it's wild because our Georgia Assembly just touted the fact that they passed an IVF bill, right? But it's not accessible. So it's like you looking at something, but you can't touch it. So if insurance is not covering it, Medicaid is not covering it, who is able to actually get this treatment? And I want to say this, in community, because also here's the other thing, like I've heard like mumblings of people saying, well, if they need insurance, why should they get IVF? because it's like $30,000 to $40,000 around. That's why. If you need health care, if you don't have health care and you go to the doctor, you may spend $500 versus you spending $20 if you have health insurance. So when we talk about accessibility, that is what we mean in terms of people being able to access care to IVF.
Alicia, before we let you go, we just want you to give us some insight on what are the policies and priorities for 2025 and how can our Let It Be Known family get involved?
Yeah. 2025 right now, we are just continue to educate. Like, make sure you don't let the news consume you, because they operate in chaos. Most importantly, our priorities are, of course, always fighting for reproductive freedom and access to care. And with that is abortion. With that is paid family leave. With that is access to birth control and IVF, to say that explicitly. So we are on the front lines of all those fights, including Medicaid expansion. And I have to shout out our colleagues on the other side, Planned Parenthood, because they do a lot of C4 work in terms of not just accountability, but electoral. And we know that they are coming after them as well. And our hearts go out to them because we know all they're trying to do is give people the care that they want and the care that they need. So those are the things that we're looking forward to. But most importantly, 2026 is here in our minds because we have a house to take back. And we are doing the work every single day because this is a 365-day job, not a seasonal. So that is why Georgians are so good at talking to Georgians, because we never let up in talking to our community.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, there you have it.
Y'all, I appreciate being here. Y'all have a great day.
You too.
Thanks,
Peace and love.
Alicia.
All right, let's jump into some quickies. Speaking of, we're talking about health. Here in LA County, the Department of Public Health has declared a community-wide outbreak of hepatitis A, citing a rise in cases and elevated virus levels in wastewater. Now, there have been 29 cases confirmed so far.
Goodness grief.
Right. And let's go back to the East Coast. Six Flags America and its Hurricane Harbor in Maryland will close permanently after the 2025 season. Now, Six Flags Six Flags CEO Richard Zimmerman says it was a difficult decision to make, but said the park is not a strategic fit for the company's long-term growth plan. I figure that has something to do with, winter seasons. Here in California, Six Flags is pretty much open 365 days a year. But I figured during the winter time, maybe the park closes. Could that be it?
Yeah, it does close during the winter.
All right. Let's hop. Yeah, I mean, that's a treat for kids. Summertime, Hurricane Harbor. I mean,
it's just they're taking away, trying to take away books, take away artifacts from the museums. They take away education. They're taking away recreation for kids. It's crazy.
Right. Let's hop over to Chicago. Where the Trump Klan administration has launched a civil rights investigation into Chicago's public schools' Black Student Success Plan. Now, the Trump admin is saying the program unlawfully discriminated against other racial groups.
I saw and I didn't pay a lot of attention because sometimes it's overload. But these three Black individuals, I think they were on CNN, but I just saw a clip of them talking about why in this moment they still support what Trump is doing. And I just couldn't stomach, let me keep moving. It's just this idea, and he ran on this among the many racially divisive things. He talked about the white folks being the most discriminated, white men being the most discriminated, and give me a break.
Right.
It's
Nell Carter said it best. Give me a break.
give me a break now. That's right. Remember that show? Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, let's hop over to Colorado, where a fan is suing the NFL for 100 million for causing him emotional distress and trauma after Shador Sanders fell to the fifth round draft.
Now, this is a thing where people need to be held accountable for filing frivolous lawsuits, taking up the court's time. This, come on, go get yourself, go really hunt down, find, capture a life for yourself. This is ridiculous.
Mhm. And speaking of Colorado, congratulations to Deion Sanders and the Colorado football team. For the first time ever in Colorado University's 120 years, all Colorado football players have all held a 3.0 GPA or higher. Salute
That is
to prime
awesome.
time. That
Yeah,
is
it is
amazing.
awesome. It shows that he is holding his players accountable. We know that many times many of athletes throughout history, college athletes, they school is second or third on their list, and the coaches and there's been a lot of cases in which some other people have taken their tests for them and things of that nature. But that's good news for those football players out of Colorado. I would imagine and I hope that he did the same when he was at Jackson State.
I mean, I don't see why not.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I'm not doubting that he
yeah,
did.
yeah.
The problem is, I mean, unless I missed it, we just didn't hear about it.
Well, and maybe we just didn't hear about it, I don't think. But I just think the leadership that he exudes when he's in the space, no matter what college he's at, it makes those young men want to be better.
Hmm.
And I love the fact that color is not an issue. It's just making men better. So I mean, shout out to Prime Time. And last but not least, just a friendly reminder, don't forget Obama Appreciation Day is coming up on June 14th. So we definitely will keep reminding you about that. And if you have your Obama pictures with him, post them. First Lady Michelle Obama, post them. If you have a favorite Obama moment, we want to flood the internet on June 14th. You can do your
Well, you,
history. We'll talk about it a little later, but you can do your history. But June 14th is the day. It's Obama Day.
you
Go ahead.
it's interesting. One of the clips I hope when you encourage folks to post stuff is I hope they post that White House Correspondents Association dinner in which he roasted Donald Trump. But the other thing is, Trump was either yesterday or the day before going off on a tangent on the Obama library. You
Hmm.
know that everything he said, you can believe the opposite. Oh, that it's overfunded. Then, of course, he talked about he using DEI people, and this guy is absolutely obsessed with Barack Obama. 100%
Yeah.
obsessed with Barack Obama. So, I could care less about these holidays and these days of honoring people. But June 14th, if y'all gonna do it, really do it. Let him see Obama everywhere. Daryl Dawkins once said that when he played Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Abdul-Jabbar scored like 40 points on him, and he said he would dream about it and he'd wake up saying sky hook everywhere he turned. He walked down the hallway, sky hook, sky. Everywhere Trump turns on June 14th, let him see Obama.
Right. And I got a hint yesterday that he's coming after Juneteenth, as he made his speech about changing Veterans Day to World War I and II Day. He made the comment and said, and there are too many holidays. There are too many days we get off. We're gonna fix it's too many holidays. I was like, he coming for Juneteenth. That
You
was
know
a
what that means.
warning. I caught it. It was a warning. So beware, folks. He coming.
You
We
you
coming
know
for
that.
June 14th. Guess what? He coming for June 19th. So
And
just
make
be
no
prepared.
mistake, Black History Month, Martin Luther King Day, make no mistake, all of that stuff he is, like you said, he's coming for it. He's coming for all that. I believe that he in his way played a little nice this year to start off, but he's come because the Heritage Foundation wants all that gone. So he's going to do what the Heritage Foundation wants, even if he somehow doesn't want to do it. So there you have it. You're absolutely right. And as MB says, he's also obsessed with Biden as well. So you know what? If you're not, if you guys on June 14th is not especially fond of Obama, well, put up some Biden stuff too. Just inundate this guy.
Don't misconstrue the message. The message is Obama. It ain't Joe Biden. It's Obama. Okay. If you want to put a picture of Obama with Joe Biden, like that fly picture of them in the back of the car, the beast, but it's Obama Day. I
like when Obama took Biden, they walked across Pennsylvania Avenue, and he took him to the ice cream shop, and he's kind of schooling him and stuff on, and Biden is truly, even though we know much older than Obama, was truly the student there as Obama just teaching him some things. I was like, wow. I love that video. It's a video I've seen a few times, and I love that video. I'm not a fan of either. I'm not a big fan of either, but I like the fact that they acted, and certainly Obama, I will give him this. I think Obama, in my view, carried himself as the most presidential that I've ever seen. He carried himself in a very presidential way. May not have liked his policies, may not have liked this or that, but one thing you can say is that man, you can't complain how he carried himself.
I concur. We got Black Card today.
Yes, and this is a little, maybe a little out of the ordinary, but I think that we have to, we have to do better. These now former Frontier Airlines employees who showed so much disrespect and disregard to a passenger, denying him boarding and taunting him. That was the part, just taunting this man. The viral footage shows the moment two of the agents who were dressed in long sleeve black Frontier tops chimed in and started pointing their own phones at him, recording him, repeatedly laughing at him, saying, "You thought you was getting on this flight?" It is really despicable behavior. The man ended up flying JetBlue, and Frontier did later reimburse him, and of course they dismissed these two characters right there. I mean, I watched and I tried to, you want to kind of sympathize a little bit with the black women there. You hate revoking, so this is a temporary revocation. It's not a permanent, but you hate revoking the card from black women. But they were just out of pocket, taunting this man. He was there 50 minutes before his flight, and he had a 20-minute conversation with them about this fee they wanted him to pay, $25 fee or whatever. And then he realized, look, we only got 30 minutes, whatever, I'll pay the fee. And they was like, no, you're not getting on. And he even called over the cops. The cops were like, there's nothing we could do about it, but this is crazy that they're doing this to you. I mean, these two, they deserve to lose their jobs, and they paint Frontier. People were posting, this is, well, I don't fly Frontier either, but people, this is why I wouldn't fly that airline. And but it's not the airline, it's these clowns. That was clownish behavior, and that was just so I felt bad for the man, because I'm thinking, I put myself in his shoes. The way that they were behaving was just awful, and they intentionally made him miss his flight. So they can't come to this summer, maybe next summer. They on a suspension. We suspending their black card.
All right. I hear you.
She says, I hear you. I don't agree, but I hear you.
No, I mean, I hear you.
Oh man. And RNG says the black female police chief in Memphis needs her black card revoked. We'll get to her too, RNG. We'll get to her.
That's a good one. That's a
That
good
is a
one,
good one.
RNG.
Yeah, that is a good one. Okay, so let's get some Black history facts going on here. On this date in 1865, Union troops freed enslaved people in Columbus and Lowndes County, Alabama. Is that how you say it, Neil? Lowndes? Lowndes
Yeah.
County?
Lowndes.
Lowndes, okay. Marking a key moment in the end of slavery in the area. Additionally, on that same day, 1945, Germany surrendered on VE Day, ending World War II with a large number of Black Americans serving in the armed services. So those events are part of Black history.
Yeah, and on this day in 1925, the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, the trailblazing Black labor union, was organized by A. Philip Randolph. And we know that A. Philip Randolph was a member of the Big Six civil rights movement. And he was a big part of why we have the Civil Rights, the Voting Rights Act, 1965, 64. And so salute to the Black union labor workers, and especially April Verrett, who is leading the international president of SCIU. But it all started with A. Philip Randolph.
Yeah, it's if folks don't know the story of the Black porters, or the Pullman porters is what they really were called. I mean, it's a great story to check out, either read about it. I think they did a movie or at least a TV show, a TV movie or something about the Pullman porters. Read up on the Pullman porters. It's some great history there. How those men, what they had to endure to do their jobs, and how they had to carry out their jobs. But they're trailblazers. And like you said, A. Philip Randolph really is a great part of American history, not just Black history.
Amen. All right. So pop quiz. Can we get it up? So far, the answers we have are Brian Gumbo, Lester Holt, Max Robinson. And the question is, which barrier-breaking journalist became the first Black person to anchor a major morning show on a U.S. network, changing breakfast television forever? And I think we're trying to do that too, Stacey. Change breakfast television forever.
There he is. I was right. Oh my goodness.
Right. Ding, ding,
I
ding,
was
ding,
right.
ding.
Wow. Wow. Brian Gumbo is a huge Prince fan. And when Brian retired from the Today Show, Prince he stopped in. He was a guest, and he performed a couple of songs for Brian Gumbo, including Raspberry Beret, which Brian Gumbo sung along to, lip synced along to anyway. But that's Bryant was doing a lot, and I like his brother Greg. Greg was a great sports commentator. But Bryant, it was a trailblazer. He was a trailblazer. And there it is. And Prince, and that was the thing. Prince dressed like Brian Gumbo on that occasion.
Nice.
And Bryant was he was almost like Sherry Shepherd when Prince came on The View. Woo. Our Black-owned newspaper of the day is the Atlanta Voice. The Atlanta Voice newspaper was founded by Mr. Ed Clayton, a formidable newspaper man, and J. Lowell Ware in 1966, with a defined vision and mission, which has been the publication's motto and driving force ever since. A people without a voice cannot be heard. Well, Mr. Clayton actually died after the first issue of the paper was produced, leaving Mr. Ware as the sole publisher. Well, today, Janice Ware has continued the mission and vision of the Atlanta Voice as the unchallenged leader and foremost provider of news and information pertinent to the well-being of Atlanta's African-American community. What a privilege to have the Atlanta Voice as a part of the National Newspaper Publishers Association.
Yeah, I love their website. It's very engaging, a lot of news going on there. But you can also find a lot of the Atlanta Voice news over at Black Press USA, which has all of the publishers from Black America stories on it. So visit blackpressusa.com and you can check in with that until we meet you again in the morning.
And we will see you then. Thanks for watching. Let it be known.